good. Morning/afternoon/evening. There's a pain, a kind of hurt that hits differently when it's intentional. When someone who was supposed to care for you, protect you, or walk with you decides to hurt you deliberately. That kind of pain cuts deeper than any accidental wound, and its sting stays longer than we often wish to admit. Pain is a complex and multifaceted experience. It's one thing when you experience hurt that comes unexpectedly. Maybe a disappointment, a loss, or an unfortunate circumstance. But when someone deliberately chooses to cause you pain, when their actions are intended to harm you, it hits differently. It doesn't just hurt emotionally, it shakes you to your core. It makes you question the motives of others, and sometimes even your own worth. The damage done by intentional hurt is not just in the act itself, but in the emotional aftermath it creates. It lingers, casting a shadow over your thoughts, your feelings, and your interactions. It can be a sharp pain, a constant reminder of what was done to you, leaving scars that are not easily visible but felt deeply inside. These are not the kinds of wounds that heal quickly. They don't simply disappear with time. They often grow more complex, more layered with every passing day, especially when the damage done was calculated, malicious, or driven by selfish motives. What makes it even harder to bear is that this wasn't an accident. It wasn't an oversight. Someone saw you, understood your vulnerability, and made a decision to exploit it. This is the kind of pain that shakes your trust in others and can even make you question whether people can truly be trusted again. It's like the rug was pulled from under you and you're left trying to find your balance again. In the aftermath of such pain, it can be tempting to bury it, to push it down and act like it never happened. But acknowledging the pain is essential. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away, and pretending you're unaffected doesn't bring healing. Only when you allow yourself to fully feel the impact of what was done can you begin the process of confronting it and eventually moving through it. It's important to give yourself permission to grieve, to be angry, to feel the frustration and confusion. These emotions are valid. They are part of your experience. You cannot begin the journey toward healing until you have truly acknowledged the hurt that was caused. Betrayal is one of the most difficult experiences to process because it shakes your sense of security and trust in ways that few other things can. When someone intentionally harms you, especially someone you thought you could trust, it's not just the act of harm itself that cuts deeply. It's the realization that the person who hurt you knew exactly what they were doing. They made a conscious decision to break that trust. This is where the real sting of betrayal lies. It's not just the emotional or physical pain, but the profound disillusionment that comes with it. The person you believed in, the one you relied on, who you thought would be there for you, chose to violate that trust. They took advantage of your vulnerability. They used you, or they turned against you when you least expected it. And because it was intentional, there's a deliberate cruelty behind it, a coldness that's difficult to comprehend. The hardest part of betrayal isn't necessarily the act itself, but the mental and emotional consequences that follow. Your mind races with questions. Why would they do this? What did I do wrong? How could I not have seen this coming? There's an overwhelming sense of confusion and even self-doubt. You begin to question your judgment, your ability to trust your instincts, and your understanding of people. You start wondering if you were ever really seen for who you are, or if the relationship you had was built on false pretenses. This is what betrayal does. It shakes the very foundation of your belief in others. It leaves you wondering how to move forward, unsure of who you can trust or whether you can trust at all. The betrayal is often not just of your actions or your heart, but of the shared history and moments that you thought were real. It causes you to reevaluate everything that came before, leaving you in a state of uncertainty. The reality of betrayal also brings up a deep fear of being hurt again. It's difficult to open yourself up to new relationships or even to give a second chance to the ones you've already lost, because the scars of betrayal run so deep. You might even start to pull away from others, building walls to protect yourself, because the idea of being hurt again feels unbearable. Every time someone new enters your life, you may find yourself questioning their motives, wondering whether they'll hurt you like the others did. The truth is, betrayal can redefine how you see the world around you. It doesn't just affect the person who harmed you, but it can also alter the way you view relationships, trust, and intimacy. It leaves an emotional footprint that can take time to fully understand and process. The aftermath of betrayal can feel like walking through fog, uncertain, hesitant, unsure of which direction to take next. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It's not about excusing the harm that was done to you or pretending it didn't hurt. Forgiveness is not a way of letting someone off the hook for their actions. It's not about releasing the other person from accountability or invalidating the deep pain they caused. Instead, forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying that pain, the weight of bitterness, anger, and resentment that can slowly consume your soul. When someone intentionally harms you, holding on to the pain can become an anchor that ties you to the past, to the very moment you were hurt. Every time you replay the event in your mind, every time you revisit the feelings of betrayal and loss, you are giving that person power over your present moment. You are allowing their actions to continue to impact your life, even though the moment of harm is long gone. This is where forgiveness begins to shift the dynamic. It is a way of reclaiming your power, your peace, and your life. Forgiveness is an act of self-liberation. It says that despite what was done to you, you will not let it control your future. You will not allow the damage caused by others to define your joy, your relationships, or your sense of self. By forgiving, you are choosing to no longer be bound by someone else's choices. You are choosing to break free from the anger that threatens to hold you in a perpetual state of hurt. And in that freedom, you find peace. This doesn't mean that forgiveness is easy. It's a difficult and often painful process. It requires you to confront the hurt directly, to face the raw emotions and allow yourself to feel the full extent of the damage. But in that confrontation, there is an opportunity to heal. There is power in confronting what was done to you and still choosing to let go, not for the sake of the person who hurt you, but for your own well-being. Forgiveness also involves releasing expectations. When someone betrays or harms us, there's often a desire for some kind of restitution or apology. We want them to recognize the depth of their wrongdoing and acknowledge the hurt they caused. However, this doesn't always happen. Sometimes the person who hurt you may never apologize, or they may not even realize the damage they've done. Forgiveness in this case becomes an act of letting go of those unmet expectations. It's about healing in the absence of an apology and finding peace regardless of whether the other person ever acknowledges the harm. Empowerment through forgiveness is also about understanding that forgiveness doesn't equate to weakness. It's not a sign of passivity or acceptance of injustice. In fact, forgiveness is one of the strongest things you can do. It takes courage to release the grip of resentment, to stop letting someone else's actions dictate your emotional state. It requires strength to take back control of your life and to move forward with your heart open rather than closed off in anger. When you forgive, you reclaim your agency. You reclaim your ability to choose how you react, how you move forward, and how you invest your emotional energy. You take the reins of your own healing journey, and you refuse to let the person who hurt you dictate your future. Forgiveness is ultimately an act of self-empowerment, a declaration that you are more than the harm that was done to you, that you will rise above the pain, and that you will not allow it to hold you captive. There is a truth that many people resist but cannot avoid. The struggle, the pain, and the adversity we face are often the very things that mold us into stronger, more resilient people. We tend to associate strength with moments of triumph, with the victories, the successes, and the moments when we stand tall at the end of a long, hard battle. But real strength is not found in the moments when things are easy. True strength is built in the struggle, when everything seems uncertain, when you feel broken, when it feels like there is no way out of the storm. We live in a world that often teaches us to avoid pain, to seek comfort, and to run from difficult situations. From a young age, we are told that success equals happiness and struggle equals failure. But the reality is that struggle, though uncomfortable and at times overwhelming, is a necessary part of life's journey. It's through facing the challenges, confronting the heartaches, and enduring the setbacks that we discover our capacity for strength we didn't even know we had. Pain, in its many forms, is the crucible in which strength is forged. When you face something that threatens to break you, whether it's betrayal, loss, disappointment, or hardship, you are given an opportunity. The opportunity is not in the event itself, but in how you respond to it. The strength comes not from avoiding the struggle, but from choosing to face it head on, to keep going even when the weight feels too heavy to bear, to continue moving forward when you feel like giving up. Struggles stretch you. They force you to look deep inside yourself, to question who you are and who you are becoming. When life challenges you, you are often confronted with your own vulnerabilities, fears, and insecurities. But here lies the beauty. In the process of confronting your own weaknesses, you begin to discover your inner resilience. You find a part of yourself that you may not have known existed. You realize that you are capable of surviving things you once thought would destroy you. The power of struggle is that it reveals your strength, piece by piece, until you are standing taller than you ever thought possible. Strength doesn't always look the way we expect it to. It's not always loud or bold. Sometimes strength is quiet. It's the silent perseverance in the face of doubt. It's the courage to keep walking even when your legs are shaking, when the world seems uncertain, and when you feel like you're carrying the weight of everything on your shoulders. Strength is the decision to rise again after every fall, to get up one more time than you've been knocked down. It's the willingness to keep going even when the path ahead seems impossible to navigate. The struggle also teaches us invaluable lessons about empathy and compassion. When you've faced hardship, you develop a deeper understanding of others' pain. You become more aware of the struggles people around you are enduring, and you gain the ability to walk alongside them in their own journey. Strength, in its deepest form, is not just about surviving your own pain. It's about being able to use that experience to help lift others who are struggling. What often holds people back in the face of struggle is the belief that pain means something is wrong, that it's a sign of weakness or failure. But real strength is in the acceptance that struggle is not something to be avoided, it's something to be embraced. It's the acknowledgement that without the challenges, we would never grow. Without the difficulties, we would never uncover the depths of our own resilience. In moments of struggle, remember this: you are not being punished. You are being prepared. The fire you're walking through is forging something stronger within you, something more powerful than you realize. Through each challenge, you are being shaped into someone who is capable of facing even greater battles ahead with courage, confidence, and unshakable strength. The difference between staying trapped in victimhood and embracing transformation is one of the most powerful decisions you can make in your life. Being hurt, betrayed, or harmed in any way is an undeniable reality that everyone faces at some point. It is painful and unsettling, and it can feel like the world has turned against you. However, what often determines whether you remain stuck in the pain or rise above it is your perspective on the situation. The shift from victimhood to transformation doesn't diminish the validity of your pain, nor does it negate what was done to you. Instead, it's about changing the way you respond to what happened and choosing to grow and evolve from it rather than allowing it to define you. Victimhood is an identity that many people unconsciously adopt in the aftermath of being wronged. It's an easy place to fall into because it offers a certain level of validation for the hurt you've experienced. You become defined by your pain, by the actions of others, and by the circumstances that have been forced upon you. It can feel comfortable in some ways because you're not asked to change, to grow, or to take responsibility for moving forward. In victimhood, your narrative is driven by what was done to you, and that becomes the lens through which you see everything. The world becomes a place where you are constantly at the mercy of others' actions, waiting for life to change rather than taking control and changing your own path. But what many people don't realize is that staying in victimhood, while it may bring temporary comfort, can also keep you stuck. It can trap you in a cycle of bitterness, anger, and resentment. You may find yourself constantly reliving the pain, replaying the betrayal or harm over and over, unable to move past it. And with each cycle, you lose a little more of yourself, a little more of your agency, and a little more of your power. You begin to believe that what happened to you is the defining factor of your life, and as a result, you stop believing that change or growth is possible. Transformation, on the other hand, requires a radical shift in mindset. It requires a decision to no longer let the past dictate your future. Transformation is about choosing to use your experiences, both the good and the bad, as stepping stones for growth. It's about taking the lessons learned from hardship and turning them into tools that empower you, rather than letting them become weights that hold you down. The decision to transform begins with recognizing that the pain you've endured does not define who you are. It simply shapes how you move forward. True transformation begins when you realize that you have the power to take your life back. It's about taking ownership of your healing journey and choosing to break free from the narrative that others have written for you. The shift from victimhood to transformation is often painful because it requires you to confront your own wounds, your own flaws, and the ways you've let the pain define you. But through that process, you learn how to reclaim your power. You begin to understand that while you cannot control what happens to you, you can control how you respond to it. You can control how you let it shape you. Transformation also involves forgiveness, not for the sake of the person who wronged you, but for your own sake. It's about releasing the hold that the past has on you so that you can move forward with freedom. In choosing transformation, you acknowledge the pain, but you choose not to be its prisoner. You choose to rise above it, to learn from it, and to build a life that is no longer dictated by the wounds of the past. In the process of transforming over victimhood, you reclaim your life, your joy, and your purpose. You become a person who is not defined by what was done to you, but by the strength, wisdom, and resilience you've gained in the process of healing and evolving. You begin to see challenges not as setbacks, but as opportunities for growth. Transformation allows you to step into a future where you are no longer limited by your past, but empowered by the person you are becoming. When you've been hurt, betrayed, or harmed by others, one of the most profound consequences is the impact it has on your sense of self. The pain often extends far beyond the immediate emotional or physical damage. It can shake your very identity, leaving you questioning who you are, what you stand for, and where your worth lies. It's as if the person you were before the hurt is somehow lost, obscured by the weight of the hurt that was inflicted. In these moments, restoring your identity becomes not just an important task, but an essential act of healing. It is about reclaiming who you are and redefining yourself on your own terms, rather than letting the actions of others dictate your sense of self-worth. The first step in restoring your identity is acknowledging the loss. When you've experienced betrayal or intentional harm, it's common to feel like part of yourself has been stripped away. Whether it's your confidence, your trust in others, or your sense of safety, these things can feel irreparably broken. It's important to recognize that this feeling of loss is real, and it is valid. What you've gone through has changed you, and it's okay to grieve that. The loss of identity doesn't happen overnight, but often over time as you internalize the pain and begin to question your own value and place in the world. Yet acknowledging this loss is not the same as surrendering to it. While the damage may have changed you, it does not have to define who you are. Restoration begins with the realization that you are still whole, even if you don't feel like it right now. The pieces of you that were fractured or broken can be put back together, stronger than before. This process of restoration involves taking back control over your narrative. You are not defined by what was done to you. You are defined by who you choose to be, by the strength you summon to rise above your circumstances. Restoring your identity requires a conscious effort to reconnect with your true self, who you were before the hurt and who you still are underneath it all. Often, when we are hurt, we begin to adopt labels and beliefs that others place on us. We may internalize the opinions or judgments of those who have wronged us, believing that their view of us is the correct one. This is where restoration takes work, You must strip away those layers of false identity, those beliefs that do not serve you, and begin to rediscover the person you truly are. This involves confronting the lies that have been told to you about your worth and replacing them with the truth of who you are: worthy, valuable, and capable of healing. Another important part of restoration is reclaiming your voice. When you've been hurt intentionally, your voice can feel silenced, whether it's because you've been manipulated, disregarded, or oppressed. The act of speaking up for yourself can feel daunting, if not impossible, but restoring your identity means finding your voice again, not just to speak up to others, but to speak truth to yourself. It's the process of telling yourself, I am enough. I am not defined by my pain, and I am worthy of love and respect. This inner dialogue is a key part of restoration because the way you speak to yourself shapes the way you view the world and your place in it. Restoring your identity also involves healing your relationship with trust. When trust is broken, whether by betrayal, abandonment, or intentional harm, it often causes you to question everything you believed about the people around you. But your ability to trust again, both others and yourself, is a cornerstone of your restoration. Rebuilding trust isn't about jumping back into situations or relationships that aren't healthy, but about learning to trust your own instincts and judgment, knowing that you have the wisdom and strength to navigate future challenges with greater clarity and awareness. Finally, restoration of identity is a process of self-acceptance. It's about understanding that you are not perfect, but you are still worthy of love, respect, and happiness. The harm that was done to you does not negate your value. You can be broken and still be whole, damaged yet still beautiful. Restoration is about accepting all parts of yourself, embracing your flaws, and knowing that healing is a journey, not a destination. The person you are becoming through this process is someone who is deeply grounded in their own worth, no longer tethered to the hurt of the past, but moving forward with purpose, strength, and clarity. Hope is often described as the light at the end of the tunnel, a beacon that guides us through the darkest times. When we face hardships, pain, and setbacks, it can feel as though the future is uncertain, distant, and unreachable. The weight of the present moment can often overshadow our ability to see beyond it. But hope is what keeps us moving forward, even when the path seems unclear and the journey feels impossible. It is the belief that there is more ahead of us than the struggles we're currently enduring, and that no matter how difficult the present may seem, the future holds potential for healing, growth, and new beginnings. Hope is not a passive feeling. It's an active force that requires us to choose to believe in something greater than the obstacles in front of us. It's a mindset, a way of seeing the world despite the circumstances. When life is challenging, it can be easy to fall into despair, to believe that things will never change, or that we are destined to live in our pain forever. But hope is about rejecting that belief. It's about acknowledging the difficulties while refusing to let them define our future. Hope is the recognition that pain is temporary and that change, although slow at times, is always possible. At its core, hope is a belief in possibility. It's the understanding that what we see right now, whether it's a season of loss, disappointment, or confusion, is not the final chapter of our story. Hope allows us to look beyond our current struggles and envision a future that is brighter, fuller and more aligned with our purpose. It challenges us to imagine what could be rather than staying trapped in what is. Hope is the engine that drives us to keep striving, even when the road ahead is tough. It's the fuel that pushes us to take one more step, even when we feel like we've run out of strength. Hope also plays a crucial role in how we heal. When we're facing emotional or physical wounds, the future can feel distant and inaccessible. Healing takes time, and often it can feel like we'll never fully recover. But hope gives us the courage to trust that healing is happening, even when we can't see the progress. It encourages us to be patient with ourselves and to believe that, step by step, we will get to where we need to be. Hope is what allows us to heal our wounds and grow stronger from them. It's the belief that though we've been through difficult times, we are still capable of overcoming, of becoming more than we once were. But hope is not just about the promise of something better. It is also about the way we approach our daily lives. Hope infuses our actions with purpose and direction. It's about the small choices we make each day that lead us toward the future we desire. Whether it's showing up for ourselves, pursuing our goals despite the setbacks, or choosing to embrace gratitude even when things aren't perfect, hope is the foundation for every positive action we take. It reminds us that every small step is significant and that even in moments of uncertainty, we are always moving towards something greater. One of the most powerful aspects of hope is that it is contagious. When we hold on to hope, it radiates outwards, inspiring others to do the same. Our belief in a better future encourages those around us to keep going, to stay resilient, and to trust that they, too, can overcome their struggles. Hope is not just a personal journey, it's a collective one. It strengthens communities, builds connections, and creates a sense of shared purpose. When we hope, we give others permission to hope as well, and in doing so, we all become part of a larger, more hopeful future. Hope is what allows us to envision the future with a sense of possibility, to see beyond the pain of today and to trust that we can create something better for ourselves. It's the light that shines in the darkness, guiding us toward a tomorrow that is filled with growth, transformation, and endless potential. Hope is what makes the future worth waiting for.